It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the program. Brad Miller with you. It's County-Wide. Welcome into the studio today, Deputy Yavapai County Attorney Scott Blake and Sedona Police Sergeant Lucas Wilcoxon signed with the PANT unit, the Prescott area. I've forgotten.
Partners Against Narcotic Trafficking.
Used to be the Prescott Area Narcotics Task Force. I'm dating myself here. The Partners Against Narcotics Trafficking. Guys, thanks for coming in today.
No problem.
We're going to talk about something that's been in our news recently, a program announced just not long ago through Yavapai Sheriff's Office and Yavapai County Attorney Sheila Polk. It's the Synthetic Drug Community Protection Agreement. This is an arrangement that law enforcement and prosecutors have come up with to kind of bring in some of the folks that are selling the spice, the bath salts, those things that have been making headlines for too long in our community, and essentially working with them, the store owners, to try to get rid of these things and to very maybe slowly but surely work them out of the community. And Scott, is that kind of what this program is about?
That's exactly what the program is about. The goal of the program was to go to stores that are selling these products or that could have the potential to sell these products and inform them that these products are being used for human consumption and that they are harming the residents of our communities. And the goal was to voluntarily get them to sign the agreement regardless what the status of the law regarding these products are.
Let me start with an overview. It's out there in the news so much we take for granted that everybody knows exactly what we're talking about. But let's back up just a touch. When we say synthetic drugs and when we say spice and when we say bath salts, those are kind of street names or nicknames for a product that'll synthetically get you high.
That's correct. Basically what your spice is a synthetic cannabinoid, which is basically a synthetic form of marijuana. Your bath salts are considered a synthetic cathinone, which is very similar to maybe meth or cocaine. It's in fact has basically the same effects of amphetamines. And wanted to make it pretty clear that when they say bath salts, it's not the stuff that's being sold in a Walmart as far as a Epsom salt or something that you put in your bathtub. Right. It's just a gimmick. In fact, the other day, my mom asked me any cases hey, what cases are you working on? I explained to her I'm working on some bath salt cases and explained what bath salts are and that they're a synthetic drug. And a couple days later, she called me up and she said she was at the dollar store and she saw a person from her church in the store, and she was buying some little packets with the bowl on it with little crystals that were legitimate bath salts. And she goes up to her and says, "Hey, you're buying something that's illegal."
Yeah,
and those were perfectly fine. Right. These are a synthetic drug that have no legitimate purpose.
It seems like where the rub comes in, and Sergeant, if you could address this for me, these used to be legal. Chemically, they were made in such a way that they could legally be sold. Now, there's been some tightening legislatively, cities and town ordinances, however, you can, but it's not enough. You were telling me before the show there's hundreds of variations of these formulas.
That is correct. When bath salts went in, they made 7 ingredients illegal. Well, there's 73 out there. And with spice, they made 10 illegal. Well, there's over 450 different ingredients out there. So they keep changing it faster than the law can catch up.
By the time a city, town, police agency acts on what's in this.
That is correct.
When you've got, say, marijuana, there's one, no matter what kind it is, what potency it is, where it comes from, it has one active ingredient, right?
THC.
And so THC is illegal, i.e. marijuana is illegal. With spice, there's dozens or many, even hundreds of variations of that, and so that's what you're chasing.
That is correct.
Constantly. Yeah. As a law enforcement officer, it's got to be awfully frustrating.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's where this comes in.
Correct.
You've gone to the smoke shops and the other purveyors of these products and said what?
Basically,
please? I mean,
basically it was we had detectives with PANT, and then also we had uniform officers that went out to these shops and said, hey, these products are very harmful. They're something that's really devastating our communities, and we'd like for you to sign this agreement and stop selling these products. And some stores, they were right on board.
Mm-hmm.
They said, yeah, we recognize that these products are very harmful, and And we're on board with this. We don't want to sell these products anymore.
When we go into some of the smoke shops, I know that some of them were in business before these products even became, in vogue. Others, no doubt, opened because they could sell these. We talked here again before the show that the profit margin, you described it as like a packet of sugar you might put in your coffee.
Yeah, it's 1 gram, which is the size of a package of sugar.
Okay.
And for Spice, it sells about $30 for 1 gram.
And it costs the store owner wholesale
$5.
$5, okay. Big profit margin.
Yeah.
What I can't quite get, and have had trouble understanding with some of these, especially with some of the bad publicity some of these stores have gotten, very specifically, is there enough money in that to counter the bad vibes, frankly, that you're going to get from the community?
And I think something, especially with bath salts, is they are so addictive that people are going to go back regardless, and they
get hooked.
Yeah, they get hooked. I talked to individuals that said they were going back 5 or 6 times a day, that they were going back, buying a gram at a time, going into the store 5 or 6 times a day. And you look at that profit margin, $5 to buy the product wholesale, and then they're selling it for around $25 to $30 times 5 or 6 times a day per person. That's a lot of money.
Let's talk about some of these drugs specifically in terms of spice. There are people out there who will argue that marijuana, nobody's ever OD'd, and it's a plant, it's nature, and all these kinds of things. When we talk about spice, which is marketed anyway as mimicking marijuana, that's not the case. So even people who maybe think, well, marijuana's not that bad of a thing, your argument when you say, well, let's talk about, I know you'd argue marijuana is a bad thing, but when we talk about spice, it's not the same ballgame, is it?
No, because I've talked to people who've used marijuana, and I've talked to people that use spice, and a lot of people have said it's completely different effect than the marijuana effect.
Okay, how so? In what ways?
Well, drugs affect the body differently on everybody, and some people it can last for 30 minutes to several hours, to where they're having excessive sweating, more hallucination effects. There's some major paranoia. Some people get the effect that they're having a heart attack. When I went into one of the shops, one of the employees told me that this stuff will give you the effect of having a heart attack.
So she was using the heart attack effect as a marketing tool?
Yes.
Why would you want that to happen? I mean,
I don't know.
That's not a question any of us, I think, can probably answer. But interesting that's what's out there to the street level user. Hey, try this, that, and the other thing. Now, the bath salts, we think about meth, is kind of synthetic, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, we hear about it being made with chemicals under the kitchen sink.
Sure.
So bath salts are...
It's just basically a variation. Basically, they're taking molecules, they're switching them around. They're not the exact same molecules as meth, but similar in nature. They're similar to the molecules in a cathinone, which gives you an amphetamine type reaction. It's a stimulant. It increases your heart rate. One of the things that we're seeing with bath salts is they're causing people to hallucinate, and a lot of paranoia with those hallucinations also.
You can find on YouTube videos of people supposedly undergoing the effects of this thing.
Sure.
And some of those videos are, I think, kind of aimed at making them look attractive to perhaps younger users and whatnot. They look very frightening to me. We got to take a break. There's a lot more to talk about here, but we do need to pause for just a moment. A new program, a Synthetic Drug Community Protection Agreement. We'll describe more about how that works when we come back. Our guest today, Police Sergeant Lucas Wilcoxon with PANT out of Sedona, Deputy Yavapai County Attorney Scott Blake. It's Countywide. We're back after this.
Here in northern Arizona and throughout Yavapai County, people count on Orkin Pest Control. With over 100 years of combined experience, nobody knows how to protect your home or your business from harmful or annoying pests like the Orkin Man. To start service, contact your Northern Arizona Orkin Pest Control. In the Verde Valley, call 567-5100 or Orkin Pest Control in the Prescott area at 775-8772.
Hi, I'm Steve Scourgy with Yavapai Silent Witness. Maricel Gonzalez was murdered on this spot almost 15 years ago, back in March of 1997. We know that there is somebody out there who knows what happened in the alley that night. Yavapai Silent Witness is offering an $11,000 cash reward for information that leads to the arrest of Marcel's killer. For Yavapai Silent Witness, I'm Steve Scourgia.
The pain will not control us. It will never break us, define us, or keep us still. Because arthritis can't beat us if we beat it first. In the fight against arthritis, you need a weapon. What's yours? Visit the Arthritis Foundation at fightarthritispain.org.
Crack don't secret found their way out of
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to the program. Again, countywide, Sergeant Lucas Wilcox and Deputy Yavapai County Attorney Scott Blake talking about synthetic drugs and a new program that has been launched by county various law enforcement prosecution agencies to kind of work with the folks that sell this. At one time, legally, cities, towns, different kinds of enforcement have taken place, but it hasn't been enough. So simply kind of stretching or reaching out and bringing some of these purveyors of these items inside with you. Tell me about, we think about the high with these, and if you drive under the influence of, say, marijuana, you can become a very dangerous driver. These synthetics can do the same thing. But there's a danger because you don't know what they're putting in them to cause the effects. So there's a health hazard beyond what the high kind of trouble can get you into.
Exactly. We don't know. When you're buying one of these products, you don't know exactly where they're being manufactured. You don't know what the quality control is going into the process of manufacturing these. What we know with the bath salts is they're getting precursor chemicals from China, and then they're being manufactured in garage or small lab type situations. There's no quality control. What's going in one package could be completely different than what's going on in another package, and who knows what they're mixing these chemicals with in order to make it more attractive,
right.
In order to make the appearance look like it's something that you want to take into your body.
It looks like candy.
Yeah.
I mean, that was what we were struck by some of the packages. We did a show previously where we had some samples, and it looked to me like you're marketing to young people.
Yeah. And
or bright oranges and green, it looked like candy.
Well, one of the packages, we talk about bath salts a lot. They have a lot of different names that they're being sold as. One of the products in particular is being marketed as a ladybug attractant. That's what the legitimate purpose is that it's a ladybug attractant. And that's something a kid would pick up and say, hey, a ladybug attractant, I'll pick up some of those.
All right. It's almost funny, but it's not.
It
the
is.
way, just the frankly, the BS that is used to get this stuff out there. I want to say, you've had some signups to this program already.
We have.
That you've had a number of stores. And I want to mention them by name. The Prescott Food Store in Prescott, I assume, the Don's in Cottonwood, the Black Pearl, the C-Stop, and What You Want. They've signed this agreement.
That is correct.
And that means they've agreed to remove this stuff.
They agree that they will not sell this stuff in the future and that they currently don't have it in their stores at this time.
Does this agreement make it illegal for them or cause any recourse for you guys if they do start to sell them again?
If they did start selling it again, then we could look back. There were some search warrants that were executed late February, mid-March of this year, in which there was a lot of products that were taken from the stores, and there was only a small sample that was sent to the lab for testing. It would be very hard for the lab to test all these products at once, and some of the initial results came back that they were not the substances that were currently banned under Arizona law. However, we didn't test all the products, so one of the things that we offer to the store is instead of testing all the products, if you agree not to sell these items anymore, that we regardless of what the testing ends up showing,
Right.
we're not going to go back and prosecute you if you agree not to sell these items.
Okay. Immunity comes to, but that's not, it wouldn't be accurate to say that, but an arrangement.
Correct.
To forget, past is past.
Exactly.
Let's
This is a
go
chance
forward
to,
from here.
hey, if you're willing to say, hey, we don't want to sell these products anymore, we see that they're dangerous, regardless what the status of the law is, regardless if they're banned substances under Arizona law or not, that they are harmful, regardless. I just got a call from the lab earlier this week, and one of the products that were tested, what they did is they changed one little molecule from what is a banned substance under Arizona law by just adding one molecule. It wasn't changing it, it's just added one additional molecule. It's no longer that substance, but it has substantially the same effect. It's exactly, almost exactly the same product, it just has one molecule difference, and we can't prosecute it.
Right. The chemists know that.
Correct.
And so when you get these things, do they advertise that so that you know it's different, or do you have to test it to get that result?
They do. They put on the packaging, a lot of them, there was an emergency act by the DEA that banned 3 substances. So a lot of the packaging that you're seeing out there says it does not contain the 3 substances banned under federal law.
Okay.
And they do know that, unfortunately, the legislative process is a long process, and they're keeping track of it. They know what's coming down. So it's pretty easy for them to switch these molecules. From information that I'm receiving from the DEA and some other federal agencies, is the time that it takes to change the molecular structure is about 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
Where
So
for legislative changes, months.
They can stay dry and walk through the raindrops.
Correct.
All right. Sergeant Wilcox, we mentioned about a half a dozen stores by name that have signed already. There's some other stores, I guess, that have signed that wanted to stay anonymous, and we'll respect that. So maybe say a dozen stores, just as a ballpark. How many more are out there? Do you have a ballpark figure on that haven't signed and won't?
We went to 18 different stores.
Okay.
Total of 7 actually signed. There was 5 that refused, and 6 were still waiting.
Of the ones that refused, did you have conversation with them? Did they tell you why, or what's your relationship like with when you walk in to try to do that? They say no.
There is the legal form?
Yes.
There was a legal form that was putting them on notice that, by you not signing this, we can come back in and possibly go after charges. So they were advised by.
And one of the points so basically they were presented this community protection agreement.
Right.
And if they refused to sign it, they were given a legal notice, putting them on notice that these items are used for human consumption. The packaging says that not intended for human consumption. There's no legitimate purpose for these except for getting high. And so part of the legal notice was, if you're not going to sign the agreement, we're putting you on notice that it's well known that these are being used for human consumption. It also gave them notice that the packaging is deceptive. They're not putting the ingredients on these packaging. A lot of the tests that we had for items that we did seize during the execution of these search warrants show that they tested positive for a substance called pentadrone. And pentadrone is basically similar to any of the banned substances under Arizona law. The packaging doesn't say this contains X amount of pentadrone.
You're standing in the store, you're standing there toe to toe with the shop owner, stating obvious points of fact that you both know, but you're trying to kind of hide, or the shop owners, insist, not the ones we mentioned, but the ones who haven't signed this and have indicated maybe they're not gonna, they're just kind of hiding behind these kind of shields of protection that they currently enjoy.
Yeah, they said, well, we don't know what's in there, and our suppliers are telling us it's okay to do. It's not for human consumption. It doesn't contain these banned substances, so go ahead and sell them.
One of the shops that we mentioned, I'll say it by name, the Dons, had protesters in front of their store at one time a few months ago. I shouldn't say obviously it had an effect. It would appear that perhaps it did, because they're on this list, and we salute them for signing this and taking that step. Has public pressure had any effect on getting this done? You know what? I'm really sorry. We got to take a break first. I'll ask for that answer to that question when we come back. Time running short on us. Scott Blake and Sergeant Lucas Wilcox on Countywide. We're back right after this.
Here in northern Arizona and throughout Yavapai County, people count on Orkin Pest Control. With over 100 years of combined experience, nobody knows how to protect your home or your business from harmful or annoying pests like the Orkin Man. To start service, contact your Northern Arizona Orkin Pest Control. In the Verde Valley, call 567-5100 or Orkin Pest Control in the Prescott area at 775-8772.
About the dangers of prescription drug abuse. The partnership at drugfree.org.
Hi, I'm Steve Scourge with Yavapai Silent Witness. Marcel Gonzalez was murdered on this spot almost 15 years ago, back in March of 1997. We know that there is somebody out there who knows what happened in the alley that night. Yavapai Silent Witness is offering an $11,000 cash reward for information that leads to the arrest of Marcel's killer. For Yavapai Silent Witness, I'm Steve Scourge.
Every year, 2 million kids play doctor by taking pills not prescribed to them. Talk to your kids about the dangers of prescription drug abuse. The partnership at drugfree.org.
Welcome back to the program, our show. There's so much to talk about here, and there's so much happening, and we'll continue to follow this as we've done news-wise. But to answer the question I asked prior to the break, public pressure has made a difference?
Sure, and I think I spoke with the owners of the Dons, and personally, when we were coming up with this agreement, and I actually had ran the agreement by them before we actually went out to other stores, and first of all, they felt like what they were doing wasn't wrong, given that they were getting information from their suppliers that this isn't illegal to sell.
They really thought that.
Yeah, and
Okay.
and I could see why, given the information that they were getting from the suppliers. Hey, it doesn't contain
Right.
these banned substances.
Okay.
It's not illegal, and so I think that one of the reasons that was beneficial for them to sign an agreement is their name had been put through the ringer quite a bit.
Right.
And this gives them a chance to kind of get some redemption and say, hey, we recognize the harmful effects of these products, and we're going to agree not to sell them regardless of what the legal status. Even if they can't be prosecuted for selling these products, they recognize the harm that's out there. And I have to applaud them for that. And that was a tough decision given the economic environment that's
Right.
created by these
Right,
products.
and we'll understand it, and some, as Sergeant, as you've described, some of the shop owners just aren't ready to get on board with this. Maybe they never will. Maybe it'll take a little more time. But you know, it is a livelihood. It's worked out that way for some folks, but sometimes we have to ask, how much do we want to make our livelihood that way? Guys, we thank you very much for this program. There's, if you want to find out more, you can contact Pant, 778-0558 for more details on this. If you're a shop owner listening today and you haven't heard about this, or you want to find out more about it, you can contact or the county attorney's office.
And if I could just real quickly,
Go ahead.
Matt Force has a publication that talks about designer drugs or synthetic drugs, the spice and the bath salts.
Okay.
It talks about what they are, what the chemicals are in there. You can contact Matt Force, and I'm sure they'd be happy to give this pamphlet.
Great way to do it. You can find them online. Guys, thanks. Deputy Yavapai County Attorney Scott Blake, Sedona Police Sergeant, and Pant member Sergeant Lucas Wilcoxon. It's countywide, and we'll see you next time.
This has been Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcasting station.